good God.
Crisis communique. On the topic of ongoing crisis in the Indo-Pacific, we, the members of the alliance, have agreed to consider the acceptance of a NATO-China treaty with the following terms. A withdrawal of all NATO forces from the Taiwan Strait, South China Sea, and East China Sea in the short term, with future aid flows to Taiwan banned. A Chinese exclusive zone for only Chinese and Taiwanese vessels to be permitted in the area surrounding Taiwan. Any future membership of Taiwan and South Korea into NATO or NATO on the condition of negotiations, including amongst NATO and Taiwan, Japan, and South Korea. Okay, note these conditions will. The success of it depends on the passage of the NAT. Failure to pass a solution to this crisis will result in a war with China, as Chinese and NATO forces remain in a standoff in the Taiwan Strait at the moment.
Actual point of information?
Yeah.
The language there is failure to pass a solution to this crisis. Are we faced with a yes or no, or are we able to renegotiate something and send to China?
If you say no, then there will be war with China.
There's no like
this
other.
was the negotiation.
Okay, just because the language is unclear.
It was
a
the US
solution.
This was the US
Right.
Iceland.
Since this is a big thing, can we have everyone vote, not just stop at the first vote? Because I know Belgium's voting no, and that's going to be very voting.
You're being a little presumptuous there, Iceland.
Spain.
Motion to have everyone vote simultaneously by raising their placard.
Can we do
No.
a preliminary vote?
UK.
Just motion, or point of inquiry. In the area around Taiwan, it's primarily British and American forces. So what this basically, you guys are saying this would register an attack on us unless Article 5 would be introduced, making the whole alliance go to war?
Yes.
Anyone else?
Or peace.
Yes.
It's to the North Atlantic. Historically, attacks on colonies and sources around the global south haven't been considered Article 5able. Is this somehow an exception to that precedent?
Well, considering that the communique is really unprecedented with China and Taiwan, I'm gonna say no. Like, we'll still be under the presumption of war.
I mean, China's already declared war on the
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
They should you Article 5 use it.
Yes.
motion for a resolution.
No. Ms. Marina's vote. We are over time and we're gonna vote. Who has an actual question? Anyone have an actual question? Okay. Belgium. Pass. Bulgaria.
Pass.
Canada. Against. Okay, I guess we're going to war. Not
Congratulations on preventing war. Since we failed, this is what happened. The crisis escalated into regional conflict. The US and UK has engaged in dogfights over the Taiwanese Strait and Taiwan. Chinese DF-21D missiles, also known as carrier killers, have successfully sunk one US naval asset, and then Chinese DF-26B missiles have destroyed us now. The PRK mobilized in the militarized zone, and there is a general cyber breakdown in Korea. Obviously, this next Article 5. So we have some lessons learned. The first thing is it's hard to get political will. I think we all realize this, but we all have to vote by consensus. I'm going to keep this as short as possible. There are obviously diverse member interests in NATO, so national priorities such as Nordic countries, the Arctic, etc., which override things. I'm trying to keep it short, so it's not the best. Also, threat perceptions would also affect this. Like we all went to embassies, Eastern European allied member states obviously don't see the Indo-Pacific as an important part of their defense posture, so it will also affect decision making within NATO. So one thing on the EU is that the EU should have had a more unified response through their foreign policy ministry. EU has trade ties to China, being its second largest trading partner. Responses should have been limited to cyber responses and aid. The Baltic countries, Germany, Canada, and Spain did so. Like they gave financial aid, and the Baltic countries agreed to send cyber aid, which was really good. Kinetic responses should have been limited to naval assets in friendly countries for responding, not escalating. At this time, obviously, after the conflict did rise, that would change things. One thing that did not come up at all, and I thought was going to come up, was soft power. So EU countries and their economic power usually, they threaten sanctions, and withholding of Chinese assets, right? We saw that in the Russian war. They withheld Russian assets and then they used that money to fund Ukraine. So that was something I thought was gonna come up that didn't. But anyways, great job from like nearly everybody who communicated with us. It was really good answering your questions.
Another lesson we learned from this is that diplomatic responses come late sometimes. Countries have to take time to pivot their resources from their day-to-day and then to all of these crises. You guys were in the middle of doing all these normal sessions and then boom, crises. And it really does, that's really how it is. It's difficult to do because it's out of the ordinary. No matter how much prep each country does in its own defense policy, it takes real, tangible coordination to mobilize defense for a huge crisis, as it has to coordinate with first the domestic issues and then the international issues and obligations. Some countries were also debating things like the creation of NATO, like whether or not, I could see in the chat, some people wanted it, some people really didn't want it. And I think that goes to show that consensus building is a very tedious process. As we just saw, most of those communiques didn't pass today. So they can't pass unless all countries agree. This is a process that just keeps going over and over and over and over again. If this was tiring, imagine what it's like to actually do it at the real level. It must be like pulling your hair out. But something that we did love to see today was the collaboration between some countries. So like Poland, Turkey, Hungary, for example, were responsible for keeping open communication lines with China, which led to this crisis communique, which I guess led to our war. But prior to that, it's good that we started off with that diplomatic keeping lines open. It's paramount to do so. And yeah, we just think that this was a good example of at least keeping lines open with China.
Okay, and last thing, super short, one thing. Basically, this entire scenario was crafted to throw you guys off balance. We didn't want to immediately give you the problem. We wanted you to solve it yourselves. And that reflects the real life situation of you're going to be in an information fog. There's going to be gaps in information, and you're not going to know really the intent of your adversary. So part of this is that in a real world situation, it would probably be wise to expect diversionary tactics like from the DPRK and also from Russia if they were sort of helping out in collusion with China to achieve a broader objective on Taiwan. So basically, the first half of the simulation was us trying to trick you. Thankfully, you guys actually managed to see through it and actually marshal your forces to defend Taiwan. But in a real life scenario, this might be like how it goes down in real life. So we hope that's a valuable lesson for if you're trying to analyze maybe future international events, maybe in your workplace in the future or currently, depending on where you are now. Hopefully, this entire crisis simulation has given you some more insight and taught you some important lessons about